Many thanks for making a date on the marketplace today. Let's turn attention to the very first story. Half of savings and loans companies could be closed down in the planned cleanup exercise of that sector by the Bank of Ghana. This is what Joy Business has picked up from close sources within the financial sector. There's more in this report.
Joy Business is learning that the reforms will be carried out in a similar way that the Bank of Ghana cleaned up the banking sector. Sources say it would only affect firms that are said to be in serious liquidity crisis, having serious corporate governance issues, and that the operations are said to be a threat to the entire industry. Already, one of the firms that could be affected has gone voluntarily due to its inability to survive as a result of some serious liquidity challenges. But the Executive Secretary of the Association of Savings and Loans Companies, Chinebua Kojiabuache, is assuring customers not to panic. This is because the cleanup will not affect firms in good standing, maintaining that their funds are safe.
A lot of our members are in good standing. And to be honest with you, the data available to us suggests that the institutions who will not be affected serve more than 80% of the depositors. And so if an institution is affected, and for that matter the government is making money available for them, it's good news. One critical thing in this whole equation has to do with a company declared as insolvent. If the company is declared insolvent, it has to do a whole lot of reasons. One of them is that your asset has been impaired, which made you insolvent. Now, one of the groups of institutions who have been seen as insolvent, it's no creation of theirs. It's because they made placements or investments in certain institutions who are not operating. And so because they are not operating, it has affected a savings and loans company.
There are currently about 38 savings and loans companies in the country. This should mean that about 19 firms could go down after the final audit. According to the Finance Minister, Ken Oforiatta, the planned exercise by the Bank of Ghana could happen before September this year.
Now, the Association of Ghana Industries, AGI, says it is in talks with investors from the European Union to increase Ghana's export to the EU market. This is part of initiatives by the association to expand its business operations on the back of the interim economic agreement with the union. President of the AGI, Yao Edudjemfi, has been speaking with Joy Business about the partnership and other agreements, including the Continental Free Trade Agreement.
And our consents from our partnership with the EPA agreement. What we are basically saying that if we are not careful and we create the opportunity just for EU to bring their products here without us having enough to export back, we have a lot to lose. So rather, we are looking for partnership of EU companies coming to partner local companies to establish factories locally so that we will be able to increase our productivity and be able to export. So it's a lot going on, and we hope that at the end of it, before the implementation of this EPA, local companies will have a benefit to it.
And I know the EU is also partnering with you on some other projects. I don't know if there's some in the pipeline that you can mention to us.
The other projects that we are working with the EU is supporting local companies to grow in terms of technical skill, in terms of making available credit, because that's one of the things I've been emphasizing. We need to have credit facility with concessionary loans from their banks to our local banks so that we can assess. If we're able to do that, there's a lot that Ghanaian companies start to gain, and we are working diligently on it.
What about the Continental Free Trade Agreement? Are we ready for it?
Continental Free Trade is another thing to talk about. As you know, that up to today, Nigeria, even being the biggest market, have not signed or ratified it. We need to look at it. Even though Ghana is looking for the Secretariat to come here, I think at the end of it all, if we do not increase our productivity so that we can have products to export, we stand to lose. So at the same time, on the same level, we are still having government negotiations and talking to see how we can, of course, use this Continental Free Trade Agreement to better help export our products outside Ghana to African countries. So we are working on it.
What do you make of Ghana putting in the bid to host the Secretariat?
Well, hosting the secretariat doesn't really guarantee you the market. It's just a matter of, and it's not even, the secretariat is not going to be made up of only just Africans. It's just going to be one of the, AU secretariat. So it's really not going to bring us any benefits. What we are more important.
Think it will not bring business to the country?
How? It doesn't. Secretariat doesn't bring, rather you bring people here, but even though they come here, they are not going to spend their tax money here with you. So it doesn't do much. What we are most important to us as AGI or private sector is how we can use CFTA to create opportunities for businesses in Ghana. The Secretariat will have nothing to do. It's not going to help you to negotiate contracts in other countries. But basically, there's going to be an administrative office. So it really will not do much for us.
Very interesting comments there by the AGI president. Let's turn our attention now to some oil and gas stories. And the Public Interest and Accountability Committee's 2018 report has pointed to budget non-compliance on the part of the Ministry of Finance. The chairman of PIAC, Dr. Stephen Mantiao, is encouraging the Ministry of Finance to take steps to halt what is becoming an emerging trend of unspent annual budget funding amounts, or ABFAs. In 2 years, unspent oil resources accounted to over 600 million Ghana cedis. Prince Appiah has more in this report.
Ghana's Petroleum Revenue Management Act mandates the state to disburse funds from the Petroleum Holding Fund. It is meant to support the national budget in the form of the annual budget funding amount, ABFA. When money allocated to the fund is unspent, it should be returned to the Petroleum Holding Fund for accountability purposes. However, in 2017, PIAC report revealed 403 million Ghana cedis unspent money was unaccounted for. Despite repeated questioning by the committee, there is still no closure to the issue. The 2018 report also reveals another 252 million Ghana cedis has not been utilized. Chairman of PIAC, Dr. Steve Mantiao, says the emerging trend is unacceptable, though government officials explain the money is in a single treasury account.
Well, if you have money as much as 650 million Ghana cedis sitting in an account, not spent, and then you keep going around borrowing money, I don't think it speaks well in terms of how we are managing the public financial resources of this country. But again, when you budget and you don't spend, it speaks of a certain lack of budget compliance. And you want that in reporting to PIAC, whenever there are unspent money, the government would actually indicate so and provide explanation for not actually being able to utilize the amount. The public needs to know why the ministry, in spite of the availability of the funds, did not use the money. And I think once you provide this kind of explanation to the people, it makes for better transparency and also ensures accountability.
The Ministry of Finance is therefore being encouraged to take steps to curtail the occurrence in subsequent budgets. Dr. Mantiao says PIAC will continue push till government accounts for this oil money in subsequent budgets.
But if the government or the ministry allocates, the money is allocated to the ministry for spending, and they deposit the unspent amount in a different account without alerting PIAC, then it becomes very difficult for PIAC to fulfill its statutory mandate of monitoring and ensuring that it reports to the citizens on how these monies are spent. So if the intent of the Petroleum Revenue Management Act is to ensure full accountability, then what PIAC would want that any unspent amount is returned to the Petroleum Holding Fund for rebudgeting. By and large, companies do not actually submit their expenditure returns, and yet the ministry continues to allocate monies to these implementing agencies. For me, that creates this situation of impunity that you find on the part of implementing agencies where money spent are not properly accounted for.
Prince Appiah reporting.
Well, let's get some more reactions from energy experts who has joined us on phone on this particular development. Good afternoon, sir. Welcome to the marketplace.
Hi, good afternoon, Ima. How are you?
Very well, thank you. Now, I believe you've been listening to the conversation in that report there, and PIAC is worried that unspent petroleum revenues Currently, the Ministry of Finance is saying it's gone into a single treasury account. But what do you think about this particular situation? Because this isn't the first time it's emerging. About 2 years ago, there was an amount of money that was not spent, even though it was budgeted for. What do you have to say about this?
Well, it's very unfortunate. You know, one of the problems we have in this country is that we have laws that police some of these organizations and act. But then there are no punitive consequences for PIAC to act on. You remember there were monies that were not being accounted for in projects. In terms of projects, they will say that this amount of money is used for this project. When PIAC goes there, the project doesn't exist. PIAC doesn't have all the necessary tools it needs to help Ghanaians. Just being named to police the fund, to me, it doesn't go far enough. There needs to be an extra tool for PIAC to be able to go further and give punitive, either whatever the law must be, so that people will realize that PIAC is not just a top shop year on year. Ministry of Finance have just found a very smart way of misappropriating or misusing our funds. They will present a beautiful budget to say that, oh, these monies are for this. They use it for something else, and then they tell PIAC that it is unspent money that they've taken into a trend account, a single treasury. How is it that you take money from the Petroleum Holding Fund into the ABFA, and when it's not spent, you take it into single treasury? That's not where it belongs. It is petroleum money. So if you don't spend it and truly it's spent, which I don't believe, then you bring it back, as Dr. Mantia is saying, back to the Petroleum Holding Fund. But I can assure you that in this Ghana that we live in, government does not have $100 million sitting somewhere unspent, which is the excess of the 600 million Ghana cedis that my brother Dr. Mantia talks of. It's very unfortunate that Ministry of Finance is acting that way. It's been like that before the 2 years you mentioned. In the past, it is when they will say that, oh, these projects have been done, and PIAC will go. You remember that they said that over 50% of the projects they inspected were non-existent. I don't know if you remember that story.
Yes, I do. Now, do you think that it sparks some, tendencies of a lack of accountability and transparency when it comes to the usage of petroleum resources?
No, it's intentional. It's just the government of the day, aided by the ministry, the civil servants, misappropriating and abusing the funds that they have. It is being used for other things. You know, in accounting, you have the technocrats at the Ministry of Finance who is aiding the government of the day to basically misappropriate and misapply the funds, because they know that the law says clearly the things that the money is supposed to be used for. So if they now tell you these are the things the money is used for, they don't use it for that, and they tell you it's unspent. But if you are to go into the treasury account where they said the money is not there. You remember when in the report somewhere it says that 440 million Ghana cedis was added to something, and when PIAC pressed further, they said that, oh, okay, from the calculation, the 440 is not part of the money that they are saying that is part of. So it tells you that the money which PIAC is saying is unspent is not sitting in an account unspent. It's being misused or misapplied.
All right, so
if the only way to hide it is to mislead how the accounting is done.
All right, so if the finance ministry comes out boldly to tell the public that it's actually diverted those funds into something other useful for public use, would it be appropriate?
No, it wouldn't be, because the law is very specific on the things that you can apply the money for. You can't just use the money for anything that you want. When Parliament passed the Petroleum Management Act, they were very specific on the things that you can spend our petroleum revenues on. And when money is moved to the ABFA, it was also specific on the things you can use the money on. So you cannot use it. They definitely must have used it for other things, because, like I said, that money is not sitting there doing nothing. The government will not ask its ministers to fly all around the world looking for loans and bonds for monies that we already have sitting in the account. That money is not there.
Now, would you suggest PIAC to go to court on this matter?
Well, I just think that Parliament should do its oversight. It's Parliament that is the law. Legislatures are the ones who pass the law for PIAC to police. Dr. Manteyao and his team, PIAC, should basically lobby Parliament to amend the Act to give them a bit more probing powers. Because as it stands now, they are really backing bulldogs without any teeth, which is very unfortunate.
All right, very well. Many thanks for that input. Energy expert Kojopoku sharing his thoughts on this latest development. Now, the receiver appointed by the Bank of Ghana to handle Beige Bank's liquidation is now going after personal assets of former owner Michael Ninaku. This was after Ni Amano Dudu filed an application at the High Court earlier this week. Judge Yafe has more.
Mr. Dodu, through his lawyers, is asking the court to take over the residential property of Mr. Yinaku at Trasako and the Beige Group head office, all located at East Legon here in Accra, as well as other properties that were purchased with the funds of the bank. The receiver is also asking the court to help him retrieve a little over 1.2 billion Ghana cedis owed the defunct bank by suing Mr. Yinaku as well as 12 other subsidiaries under the Beige Group. The application argues that Mr. Yinaku breached his duties as director of the defunct bank and therefore he is liable for all the bank's losses. The receiver is also asking the court to let Mr. Yinaku return everything that is secured as a result of transactions from these properties. An injunction is also being sought to stop all the shareholders and former directors in possession of these assets from disposing them as well. It appears the receiver is moving fast to recover funds that have been sunk in by government to help with the liquidation of the bank. Government has already spent about 15 billion Ghana cedis and is projected to hit 18 billion Ghana cedis by the end of this year. The receiver for UT and Capital Banks recently noted that he's having some challenges in recovering all the assets of these former directors, as most of them were not registered in their name.
All right, so we'll be looking at this this development in detail in our subsequent bulletins. Now, making a unique dream is a reality. Reality is one that everyone hopes to achieve. How about making someone else's dream become a reality? Well, that is the story of Kofi Digberin, a man who had to forego his dream of becoming a banker to carry on with his father's legacy in the tailoring business.
Now one of the biggest tailoring companies in Takoradi in the Western region, Gangarene Designs has grown over the past 60 years to become the #1 hub for protective mining apparel. The journey of Gangarene Designs started through the vision of its founder and first CEO, James Kwame Digberin, father of Kofi Digberin. But taking over the family business was never a part of Kofi's plan.
When I was in school, my dad would be serious about this job. I said, no. How come that after finishing sixth form, I'll come and do this job? I said, no, no way, I will not go in for that. But as time goes on, I saw the need for me to move from that direction to the job that my dad has pursued or did.
From humble beginnings, the company can now boast of being the clothing line for some big mining companies in Ghana, including Goldfields Limited.
As I'm speaking, we are having about tailor designers who are sewing for Goldfields Takwa Mine. We are about 10 in numbers. And then the way our job is, the precision, the neatness, the finishing, and then the job that we are giving to our clients, always we are on top of them, because if you get to the mining, any name that you ask, I think Gagarin, if you ask about 10 guys, 6 or 7 will mention Gagarin Designs. This shows that whatever we are producing, we are on top of what we are doing.
With the aid of 15 tailors and designers, Kofi oversees the manufacturing and branding of protective apparel for miners. Although this might seem like a legacy of his father, he takes pride in his role as it gives him the chance to achieve his own dream, empowering the youth.
Okay, my vision was to train our young guys who are willing to sew. Before God the man, I had an advert. The boys, none of them were prepared to
So as you can see, most of my workers are girls. So my first challenge is the guys, the boys who will come up, and then I'm prepared to teach them free. They are not willing to come. So what I do is, those who have finished work, I will call them and probably will give you a training, and then you'll be picked in. So we started training them. And then upon our preparations, we are registering with TVET, which as years go by, when we had our accreditation, if all things move on well, we will to expand our horizon so that we can teach those who have learned from the roadside, and then maybe Mother Ghana will be able to get, because as at now, most of our PPEs are being imported from outside. Whereas if you're able to get this training, you could do it here.
Banking has always been his first love, but after 25 years of managing the family business, Kofi believes that he made the best turn on the career path.
No, I will not go back, because right now, the way the economy is, even our brothers who have finished the universities, there are no job for them. But as you can see, as at now, I've employed about 12 workers from whom I'm paying their pay as you earn, paying their SNIT, and then at the end of every year, self-assessment that I'm paying is not an easy. So in a way, we're also contributing our quota to the economy. Always, we shouldn't ask what the government can do for us. What can we also do?
For the young ones out there, Kofi's advice is that acquiring a trade is a must, as you never may know where it might lead you.
They should pick something as their hobby, as my father told me. So if I said I intend pursuing banking business, I had not veered to this line, where would I be? Where would my workers get something to be paid in? So right now, I'm speaking the young ones who are coming. If you are learning something, do well to add something to it.
Catch another edition of the Joy Business Van next Wednesday on Marketplace, and next on Business Live, with a repeat on Thursday on the Marketplace. This is where we draw down the curtains on the Marketplace today. My name is Emmanuel Abuaji. Yeah, have a good afternoon.